Hey, I'm Courtney Waterman, your tutor. Lover of anime, manga, and math. And you just tuned into another session of Tutor Me Sempai. Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm going to be giving you some more math tips for the non-calculator portion of the PSAT. Now, a little disclaimer, some of these questions actually did show up in the calculator portion, but you don't need a calculator for them, so I figured it was safe to include them. Today's tips will be focused around the slope-intercept form. If you're new to my videos, I will be putting time codes in the description box below so you can skip ahead to whatever part of the video that interests you the most. If you find yourself with any questions about what we see here today, or even your own homework, remember you can put them in the comment box below or visit me on Facebook at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. When you find this video helpful, remember to leave a like, hit the notification bell, smash the subscribe button, and share this video with a friend. Well, without further ado, let's talk a little bit more about the slope-intercept form. So today's video really just has two general tips, but I'm going to break down that first tip a little bit more so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So if the slope-intercept form is an area that you struggle with, this first tip is for you. Know your slope-intercept form. Now, it might be counterintuitive, right? If you struggle with this, clearly it's something that you don't necessarily know to your fullest extent. However, knowing that is going to be very important for this test. You will run into a lot of different questions that really use this slope-intercept form, and if you're still struggling on knowing, different elements of it, you're going to struggle on this test. So what do I mean by knowing your slope-intercept form? Well, I'm going to break this up into 1.1, know what your slope is and how to find it. And we're going to have a 1.2, know what your y-intercept is and how to find it. And 1.3, how to put everything together, how to construct your equation in slope-intercept form. So this is what I mean by knowing your slope-intercept form. If you understand these three things, then you have a really good understanding of your slope-intercept form, and I believe you should have the confidence to tackle much of these slope-intercept form questions that will appear on a PSAT. Now, the second tip, and the last tip I really have for today, is having a basic understanding of what your slope-intercept form looks like, what your graph looks like, depending on how parts change. Have a basic picture understanding. If you have a negative slope versus a positive slope, what does your graph look like? If you have a negative y-intercept versus a positive y-intercept, what does your graph look like? Having a basic understanding of what the picture looks like can really help you tackle some of these questions that will show up on your PSAT. So we're going to use these tips that we have here today, and we're going to answer a few questions, and we're going to see that really knowing your slope-intercept form boils down to these three things here, and there might be a few questions that require you to have a basic picture. So here I have shorthand of the tips that I just previously explained, and we're going to use it to tackle this question that we have here. So if you've seen my previous videos, you would know that I don't want to read all these word problems because that's going to eat up a lot of time, but I want to get what I need from the word problem to be able to answer this question. So I'm going to quickly summarize what we have here, trying to get the basic points out of this without reading the entire thing word for word. So I see we have a monthly fee of $5 and we have a per hour fee of 25 cents. And it looks like we're trying to construct an equation based on that information. We're told that X is the number of hours that we're playing this game, and we're trying to find the total cost for a given month. So tip 1, knowing your slope-intercept form. So let's write that out. Your slope-intercept form is going to be y equals mx plus b in its most general sense, where b is your y-intercept and m is your slope. And tip 1.1, your slope, what does that mean? That's going to be the rate that your function, your equation, is changing depending on your x. As x increases or decreases, how does the overall function or equation look? And tip 1.2, know your y-intercept. Well, what does a y-intercept mean? Well, that's just going to be your starting point. So pretty much whenever x is 0 and this whole part knocks out, what is your function or equation looking like? So you can think of y-intercept as your starting point when your x is 0. So looking back at this, we have a monthly fee and we have an hourly fee. So at first glance, you're like, well, which one is my slope? Well, understanding what the question is asking, they're saying for a given month. So technically your month isn't changing. So although you have a monthly fee, your month isn't changing. You can kind of think of your monthly fee as something you pay at the start of the month, and you're not going to pay it anymore until next month. But our picture is only for 1 month. So your monthly fee in this case looks like it's going to be our y-intercept, which leaves the hourly fee as our slope. And that kind of makes sense because it says that X is the number of hours we play, and we have a 25 cents per hour rate. So 25 cents seems to be our hourly rate, our slope. So when we put all of that together, we have 25 cents as our slope. So we're going to put that here. I'm just going to keep the Y. It has a CX, but it doesn't really matter what's on this side. Just know this is your total. So your slope is going to have a 25 cents. Now, is that going to be a whole 25? No, right? 25 cents compared to a $5 means we're going to have a 0.25. And it's going to be next to this X here. And we're going to add our intercept, y-intercept. What's our y-intercept? Well, we're starting at $5 for a given month, and then it's going to go up from there depending on how many hours we play. So our y-intercept, our starting point for any month is going to be $5. So that's how we construct our slope-intercept form. Now, do we have any answers that fit this mold here? Yes, C, right? C looks like it's 5 plus 0.25x. Now, don't get confused with B. Remember, your slope is not going to be that monthly fee because we're only looking at 1 month. And don't be confused with D either, because although it has all the makings, 25 is way too big of a slope because we're just doing 25 cents, not $25. So knowing your slope-intercept form really helps us understand how to even tackle this kind of question by breaking up its parts and then put them together for tip 1.3. Let's try to construct this one. So here we have a system that's cooling at a constant rate, a decrease in temperature at a constant rate. So I'm already thinking constant rate decreasing, that's going to be a linear function, a linear equation at least, and it's going to be decreasing with a negative slope. So I'm already thinking negative slope. I'm looking at this and I read it in just the first couple words, negative slope stands out to me. And it's a constant rate, so we know it's definitely going to be a line. And if you look at your answers, all of them are going to be a line anyway. But if you had something with a t squared, you know that off bat is not going to be the answer. We're decreasing at a constant rate, so there's going to be a line, not some kind of parabola. So it says decrease at a constant rate from 100 degrees to 25 degrees Celsius in 5 seconds. And it's kind of capping us at 0 to 5 seconds, and we're trying to find what does our equation look like within that time frame. So here's where knowing your slope and your y-intercept will save you a lot of time. Now you can easily start with your slope, and they give you the information you need to find it, 100 degrees to 25 degrees in 5 seconds. But if you look at your answers, you notice that your answers alternate what the slope is, from 15 to negative 15. This lets us know that there is a 100% chance we're going to have to do more work to find what our answer is, because if we find 15, we still have 2 choices to filter on. If we find negative 15, we have 2 choices to filter on. We have to know what our y-intercept is in order to finish our answer if we start with slope. But if we look at it from the reverse, if we find our slope first, you notice that we have a negative 25, 25, and 100 as far as our choices go. If we happen to stumble on 25 and not any of these two, then we have more work. But if we stumble on negative 25 or even 100, we've already found our answer. Only by hitting 25 y-intercept will cause us to do more work. So start smart. Just like in previous videos, start smart. Don't start with your slope when you can start with your y-intercept and save time potentially. So I'm going to start with our y-intercept and see if we can save some time. Now, once again, our y-intercept is going to be what is the value of our equation when your t, in this case, is 0. So what is our temperature when time is 0? Well, they tell us that we start at 100 and we go to 25. Well, that tells us that at time 0, where we started from, 100 degrees is our temperature, and we're just going to decrease from there. Well, what answer has 100 degrees as our y-intercept? D is the only answer that has 100 for our y-intercept. You don't even have to find your slope. This saves a ton of time. So this question is going to be using our tip 2, having a basic picture understanding of what our line looks like. So we're told that this line has a positive slope and a negative y-intercept. So positive slope means it's going to be looking like that. And a negative y-intercept means it's going to be down here. So when you put all that together, your slope and your y-intercept means your graph is going to look something like this. Now this is not going to be your exact, you can have it read up here depending on what your numbers are, but this is going to be the basic picture. And they're asking which of the points cannot be on this line. So just graph the points very generally and see which quadrants they're falling in. So A is going to be -3, -3, so A is going to be somewhere in here. So that's going to be A. B is going to be -3, 3, so we're going to put B up here somewhere. C is going to be 3, -3, so C is going to be down here, and D is going to be 3, 3 up there. So just from looking at this, you see your line goes through 3 quadrants, but there's one quadrant that has one of our choices that it cannot go through. That's going to be your impossibility. B is our answer for this question. So without having to do much work, just from having a basic picture understanding, if you knew this without even having to graph it, you save even more time. But if you have to graph it, know that you should have a basic picture understanding, and you see that it has to go through these quadrants, but it can never go through this one. So B is our answer for this question. B cannot be on this line. So this question is going to have us find our slope of our line that passes through 2 points. As we discussed in tip 1.1, knowing your slope also means knowing how to find it. And if this is an area that you struggle with, I want you to remember rise over run. That is how you're going to find your slope. And this translates to your change in your y value over your change in your x value. So your slope is going to be your rate of change, your rise over run. So they give us the point. So we're going to just plug this directly in and see what we get for our slope. So the y that we're going to is going to be that 4, and we're going to be coming from 1. And the change means we have to subtract them. So 4 minus 1 is going to be in your numerator, and your denominator is going to have this -1/2 minus the -5 halves. Rise over run. Your y you're going to, y you're leaving, x you're going to, x you're leaving. And when you combine all that, you get 3 in the top. And notice that it's negative, so that's a positive. So this is going to be a positive 4 over 2, which you know you can simplify 4 over 2 to just 2. So this is really just going to be 3 over 2. So what answer gives us 3 over 2? D. D is our answer. So knowing your slope and how to find it really simplifies this kind of question, so you don't have to panic when you see this. You can just jump straight in and you can find your answer just like that. So I hope you had a follow in today's examples. And if knowing your slope-intercept formula is an area you struggle with, I hope that the tips kind of gave you an area to focus on that can really prepare you before you get into your PSAT. Once again, if you have any question about what you saw here today or even your own homework, feel free to put them in the comment box below or visit me on Facebook at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. If you haven't done so already, remember to leave a like, hit the notification bell, smash the subscribe button, and share this video with a friend. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I'm really hoping this helped with your PSAT prep, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. I'm Courtney, and this is another session of Tutor Me Sempai.